out of there. And before y'all know it, he is going to have us picking cotton. Sick of him. I'm just sick of him. Sick of him. Sick of him. Sick of him. So they want to leave interracial marriages up to the states. Same way they wanted to do abortions. So we know what that means. So I guess Trump want to take us back as far as, 1959? The Lovings case? I don't know who and why in the world y'all voted for this man. You believed everything he said. And we told y'all he was lying. He gonna have us out here picking cotton soon.
So you would be okay with the Supreme Court leaving the question of interracial marriage to the states?
Yes, I think that that's something that if you're not wanting the Supreme Court to weigh in on issues like that, you're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. I think that's hypocritical.
What about Griswold versus Connecticut?
Well, you can list a whole host of issues. When it comes down to whatever they are, I'm going to say that they're not going to all make you happy within a given state, but that we're better off having states manifest their points of view rather than homogenizing it across the country as Roe versus Wade.
So you would be okay with the Supreme Court leaving the question of interracial marriage to the states?
Yes, I think that that's something that if you're not wanting the Supreme Court to weigh in on issues like that, you're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. I think that's hypocritical.
Mildred Loving married the boy next door, Richard Loving. Richard Loving is a construction worker, Mildred Loving the daughter of a sharecropper. They were born and raised in Caroline County, Virginia, where white and colored people seem unaware of the racial prejudice that exists in much of the country.
I didn't realize how bad it was until we got married.
Full of love themselves, they didn't expect to find hate in others. Their home swarms with children, their own 3, as well as neighborhood friends who enjoy the warmth here. Mrs. Loving recalls how the ordeal began one night in 1958.
The night we were arrested, I guess it was about 2 a.m. And I saw this light, and I woke up, and it was the policeman standing beside the bed. And he told us to get up, that we was under arrest.
You go ahead and play.
And anyway, they carried us to Bowling Green and locked us up. And in January, they had the trial. And they told us to leave the state for 25 years. But the way I understood it, the lawyer said that we could come back to visit, when we wanted to. So that Easter, we came back, and they got us again.
We had been down a few times before that, but at Easter we came down, they found out we was down. They arrested us again.
She wrote a letter to the then Attorney General of the United States, Robert Kennedy, who in turn passed the letter on to a Virginia lawyer, Bernard Cohen, a member of the Civil Liberties Union.
We have 3 children and cannot afford an attorney. We wrote to the Attorney General. He suggested that we get in touch with you for advice. Please help us if you can. Hope to hear from you real soon. Yours truly, Mr. and Mrs. Richard Loving. And it was that simple letter that got us into this not-so-simple case.
Bernard Cohen could and did help the Lovings. He teamed up with another attorney, Phil Hirschkopf, and at no fee they reopened the Loving case in the Virginia courts, appealing each losing decision until at last the United States Supreme Court heard these arguments.
Arguing protection, we advance the argument that these statutes are slavery statutes.
Today, the United States Supreme Court handed down a decision. The Lovings' ordeal is at last over. Richard and Mildred Loving have won the right to be man and wife, father and mother in the state of Virginia. Anti-miscegenation laws have been declared illegal not only in Virginia, but in all 16 states that have held such statutes.
The case involved Richard Loving, a white man, and his wife, Mildred Loving, a woman of color. In 1959, the Lovings were convicted of violating Virginia's Racial Integrity Act of 1924, which criminalized marriage between people classified as white and people classified as colored. Caroline County Circuit Court Judge Leon M. Bazel sentenced them to prison, but suspended the sentence on the condition that they leave Virginia and not return. The Lovings filed a motion to vacate their convictions on the ground that Racial Integrity Act was constitutional. After unsuccessfully appealing to the Supreme Court of Virginia, the Lovings appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, which agreed to hear their case. In June of 1967, the Supreme Court issued a unanimous decision in the Lovings' favor that overturned their convictions and struck down Virginia's Racial Integrity Act. Virginia had argued before the court that its law was not a violation of the Equal Protection Clause because the punishment was the same regardless of the offender's race, and therefore it equally burdened both whites and non-whites. The court found that the law nonetheless violated the Equal Protection Clause because it was based solely on distinctions drawn according to race and outlawed conduct, namely that getting married that was otherwise generally accepted and that the citizens were free to do. The court's decision ended all race-based legal restrictions on marriage in the United States. Also, let me add, Mildred became pregnant, and in June of 1958, the couple traveled to Washington, D.C. to marry, thereby evading Virginia's Racial Integrity Act of 1924, which made marriage between whites and non-whites a crime. A few weeks after they returned to Central Point, local police raided their home in the early morning hours of July 11th, 1958, hoping to find them having sex, as interracial sex was also illegal in Virginia. When the officers found the Lovings sleeping in their bed, Mildred pointed out their marriage certificate on the bedroom wall. They were told the certificate was not valid in Virginia. And I'm bringing all this out to say, really, Trump? You really want to take us all the way back? I mean, all the way back to 1959. The Lovings were charged under Section 20-58 of the Virginia Code, which prohibited interracial couples from being married out of state and then returning to Virginia, and Section 20-59, which classified miscegenation as a felony punishable by a prison sentence of between 1 and 5 years. On January 6, 1959, the Lovings pleaded guilty to cohabitating as man and wife against the peace and dignity of the Commonwealth. They were sentenced to 1 year in prison, with the sentence suspended on condition that the couple leave Virginia and not return for the next 25 years. After the conviction, the couple moved to the District of Columbia. In 1963, frustrated by their inability to travel together to visit their families in Virginia, as well as their social isolation and financial difficulties in Washington, Mildred Loving wrote in protest to Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy. Kennedy referred her to the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU assigned volunteer cooperating attorneys Bernard S. Cohen and Philip J. Hirschkopf, who filed a motion on behalf of the Lovings in Virginia's Caroline County Circuit Court that requested the court to vacate the criminal judgments and set aside the Loving sentences on the grounds that the Virginia miscegenation statutes ran counter to the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. On October 28, 1984, after waiting almost a year for a response to their motion, the ACLU attorneys filed a federal class action lawsuit in the U.S. District Court to the Eastern District of Virginia. This prompted the county court judge in the case of Leon M. Basil to issue a ruling on the long pending motion to vacate, echoing Johann Frederick Blumbock's 18th century interpretation of race. Basil denied the motion with the words, Almighty God created the races white, black, yellow, Malay, and red, and he placed them on separate continents. And, but for the interference with this arrangement, there would be no cause for such marriages. The fact that he separated the races shows that he did not intend for the races to mix. On January 22nd, 1965, a 3-district court panel postponed decision on the federal class action case while the Lovings appealed Judge Basil's decision on constitutional grounds to the Virginia Supreme Court. On March 7th, 1966, Justice Harry L. Carrico wrote an opinion for the court upholding the constitutionality of the anti-miscegenation statutes. Carrico cited as authority the Virginia Supreme Court's decision in Name versus Name and ruled that the criminalization of the Lovings marriage was not a violation of the Equal Protection Clause because both the white and the non-white spouse were punished equally for miscegenation, a line of reasoning that echoed that of the United States Supreme Court in 1883 and Pace versus Alabama. However, the court did find the Loving sentences to be unconstitutionally vague, ordering that they be resentenced in the Caroline County Circuit Court. The Lovings, still supported by the ACLU, appealed the state Supreme Court's decision to the Supreme Court of the United States, where Virginia was represented by Robert McIlwain of the state's Attorney General's office. The Supreme Court agreed on December 12, 1966, to accept the case for final review. The Lovings did not attend the oral arguments in Washington, but one of their lawyers, Bernard S. Cohen, conveyed the personal message he had been given by Richard Loving. Mr. Cohen, tell the court I love my wife, and it is just unfair that I can't live with her in Virginia. On June 12, 1967, the Supreme Court issued a unanimous 9-0 decision in favor of the Lovings. The court's opinion was written by Chief Justice Earl Warren, and all the justices joined it. Applying its strict scrutiny standard to review, the court concluded that the Racial Integrity Act and its restrictions had no purpose other than invidious racial discrimination designed to maintain white supremacy. The court therefore ruled that the act violated the Equal Protection Clause. The court ended by ordering that the Lovings' convictions be reversed. Trump, do you know this story? Do you know this story at all? Do you know anything about the law? Well, it's obvious that you don't, or you just don't give a damn.
The senator of Indiana, Senator Mike Braun, just said that interracial marriage should be a decision that's taken over by the states. Remember what happened when they did that with abortion and now it's illegal in a bunch of states? That's what they're going to try to do. And after interracial marriage, not even after, maybe at the same time, they will be coming for gay marriage next. When y'all voted this Trump wannabe into office, I knew some dumb shit was about to happen. He's already cut Medicaid, been super pro-Israel, given them a bunch of money, supported a bunch of huge corporations, and given them no tax cuts. This is the list of everyone who's gotten bribes from AIPAC. And, oh, there's he is. And you sold out to Israel for $75,000. Good to know. A lot of other people sold out for more, but yeah, if you go to Open Secrets, you can see all the people who were given money by AIPAC. Top Democrats who love Israel, of course, at the top. Chuck Schumer. Yup, makes sense. Now, what do we do? One, direct action is the only thing that politicians actually care about. Blocking them, protesting, going into their way to make things harder for them. And that's when they actually start listening. In 2020, when they did all the protests for the police, it was only when protests turned violent and when senators actually started to be intimidated by the level of people who were coming out, by the number of people who were coming out, and that's when they actually had started defunding the police. Now, did those things stay in place? And have they defunded the police at all? Since then, no. We have actually funded the police even more. These are genuinely scary times, but invest in your communities, disrupt politicians, get in their way, make them uncomfortable, call them, vote in local elections. I'll be posting more about that. And yeah, get married interracially as soon as possible, because that may be going away from a product of interracial marriage. Hopefully it doesn't, but...
Okay, before I get into this, son, I'm speaking from the perspective as a white man in an interracial marriage. And this is for other white people, so y'all aren't fucking surprised when this happens. When, not if, when they come for interracial marriage, I'm telling you, there's going to be a whole lot of fucking white people that walk away from their partners and from their kids. There's going to be some of you white people right now that are like, oh my God, no way, that would never happen. You're just fear-mongering, or you're just this and that. No, listen. I've made a video about interracial marriage before, and the amount of comments that I've gotten from people about their white partners who are completely not in touch with politics or not political are a lot. You will see white partners in these marriages choose white supremacy over their own partners and children. I promise you. Because mind you, these white people have partners and children that look like the people that are being snatched by ICE. They're watching Trump on down talk about their partners being DEI hires at work. Doesn't move them. They don't give a fuck. These same partners, white partners, tokenize their spouse at every turn. So I can't be racist. I have a black, indigenous spouse of color. Y'all see it on here all the time. But when the pressure hits and it's building, white people fucking fold to white supremacy all the goddamn time. That's what's happening right now on a national scale. And we're seeing it. We got concentration camps in America. We got the National Guard in LA and DC. We got ICE snatching up kids, families, deporting them. Doesn't matter if they're fucking citizens or not. And white people aren't moved to do shit. So you think when they come down and they try to attack interracial marriage, it's going to move white people? Absolutely the fuck not. JD Vance, I wouldn't be surprised if he set the standard and said, I'm leaving my wife for X, Y, and Z reason. He'll make some bullshit up. And other white Americans will be like, oh, yeah, he did it? All right, yep, then it's safe for me to walk away. When you as a white person can be in an interracial marriage and you see the way the entire country is treating people that look just like your children or your partner, and you just say, I'm not political, or we don't talk about that in my house, you're fucking going to, when the government comes for your shit. Well, you're probably not, because you're going to be too scared to say anything or do anything, because you're just going to be scared about violence from other white people for being in an interracial marriage. White people as a whole value white supremacy more than anything in their fucking life. 3 out of 5 white men voted for Trump. 1 out of 2 white women voted for Trump. And everything that's happening right now is what they want. And other white people that don't have a fucking spine, or other white people that don't view their partners as human beings, that don't see their children, their biracial children, as human beings, they'll walk the fuck away.